Okay, welcome back everyone. And now it's with great pleasure that I introduce our second speaker, Claire Potter. Claire has over 25 years experience in ELT, and she has taught in many contexts. She has been the director of teacher training at IH Seville since 2004. She also is a tutor and assessor on CELTA, Delta and Young Learner IH courses. And her talk today, which is aimed at teachers of adults, is called From Classroom Boom Years to Zoom Years, Bridging the Gap. Welcome, Claire.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here, Louise. Thank you very much to Macmillan for inviting me to this morning's sessions, and thanks, Guy. What a fantastic session beforehand. Lots of great ideas there. Good morning. It is still good morning. Good morning, everybody from Malaga. I am in Malaga at the moment, where I am working on a CELTA course. Now, I am experiencing at the moment this mixture of working face-to-face and also working online with adults and with teenagers. And as Louise said, my session today is focusing more on the adult classroom, but hopefully a lot of the ideas can also be applied to the teenage classroom as well. Okay, so let's begin. So let's, first of all, I'd like to begin with an activity which is certainly an activity we can do in class, but also online. One, to engage our learners, but also an activity in which we can use things like breakout rooms, etc., which we won't do in the webinar today. We'll be using the chat instead, but just to show that we can use a variety of tools when we are working online. And here is some information about me. You have some numbers and a clue. So 29 years applied to my job, 27 to a place, 6 to something related to sport, 18 is related to my family, 17 is connected to football, and 5 is connected to music. What could any of these figures be about? Please make some predictions in the chat by putting, for example, sport, you play 6 different sports, and so on. Okay, just give you a to do that.
Fantastic. Very intriguing, Claire. I'm curious. I'm very, very curious. So let's see. Sport, 6 years. You've been doing sport for 6 years. You've been 27 years in Spain, 29 years teaching English. Place you've lived in Spain for the last 27 years. You have been playing football for 17 years. Ooh, lots of ideas. Oh, we're all wondering. You can play 5 different instruments.
Some fantastic predictions. I wish some of them were true.
I've got to say this one. You've scored 17 goals.
Well, we shall now discover the truth. Thank you very much. Some great ideas there. Okay. You were right about quite a few of them. Yes, I've been teaching English for 29 years, which actually I can't believe it when you see that figure.
Right.
And I have been living in Spain for 27 years. Yes, I've always been in Andalusia, 5 years in Cordoba, where I began, and then I moved to Sevilla, although I'm very lucky in that I also am between Sevilla and Malaga these days, so enjoying Andalusia. Sport, well, I've been trying to get fit, etc., and that's the maximum number of kilometres that I have managed to run so far, 6. Family, 18, numbers of nieces and nephews. I must say that this includes great nieces and nephews as well, 16 of whom are in the UK and 2 of whom are here in Spain.
Wow, that's not bad. Eh? I have 11.
Oh wow,
it's a lot, but 18.
Yeah, it's expensive at Christmas. I don't know about anything else.
I hear you. I hear you.
And then, well, if any of you know me, you'll know that I'm a big football fan, and I have got a Sevilla season ticket, and I've had it for 17 years. Although at the moment, of course, not able to use it because we can't go to games. And the same with music. Unfortunately, we can't go to concerts at the moment, but I love going to concerts. And My favourite group are a group from Cordoba, which some of you may have heard of. They're not that famous, but I love them, called Los Atlánticos, and I've seen them 5 times in concert. I'm a bit of a groupie. So there you go. Okay.
And just to say that Gorka, I think, our technical expert in the background, has put the link to the band.
Really?
Yes, yes.
Fantastic.
To internet. So if people want to find out more, check out this great band.
Los Atlánticos, well done. Oh, thank you very much, Gorka. Okay, so this kind of activity obviously helps the students to get to know you a bit. And I think it's important because I think in class we're always asking our students to share lots of information about themselves. Personalization is obviously very important because it helps to make language memorable and meaningful. But I think we need to be prepared to share information about ourselves as well. And why? Because of all of these reasons. Helps to build rapport. It helps the students to find out things which they might have in common with each other outside of their friends group. Now, this can apply, of course, particularly to teens, but also to adults. Often they come along with a friend and trying to get them to mix, and it can be a social occasion as well, coming to class. It's not only about learning English, but building relationships, which will promote more intrinsic motivation to enjoy their experience in class. Allows you to assess their language use, identify their interests, see how they're using different tenses, different vocabulary, and also will give you information which will help you when you're planning classes. Hopefully, the prediction element is fun. It motivates the students to listen. And obviously, prediction is a very nice skill to use before all kinds of activities, but especially reading and listening to engage them in the text. And quite often these are typical areas that they have to discuss in the first part of oral exams, such as the first part of the first certificate exam and so on. Okay, so a nice activity, particularly I'd say towards the beginning of the course when you're helping to build relationships within the class and hoping that the students will make connections with you and with each other. Okay, now let's think about at the start of the lesson. And creating interest in a topic is important, I feel, because again, it motivates the students. I'm not a big fan of starting a lesson by saying, oh, today we're going to study grammar, because sometimes it switches the students off, even though actually you are going to be studying grammar, but you're embedding the grammar in an interesting topic and context. And online, one of the resources that we can use quite well is video, which is what we're going to use in a moment with this particular task. I did this task with a group of pre-first certificate students. They were sort of older teens and young adults. And I asked them, what do they think is the most important invention? And these were the 4 things that they came up with, quite different, quite interesting, that some of them thought about more traditional inventions, if you like, the light bulb, the wheel, whereas others thought of your more modern day appliances such as a computer and of course the mobile phone. I know the mobile phone was being mentioned in the last session as well. The students can discuss their choice. They're practicing possibly part of an oral exam problem solving task, which happens, for example, in PET or first certificates. Then, after they've done that, I introduce the idea of coming up with their own invention. We're going to see a clip from a program which some of you might be familiar with. It's on BBC, but there are very similar programs on other channels in other countries, and it's called Dragon's Den. And we're going to see a model of 2 girls presenting their idea to the dragons. Now, the dragons are judges who have to decide whether or not they want to invest in the product or not. So, as you are watching, I want you to decide, do you think that the dragons, the judges, should invest in the product that we're going to see or not? After we've watched the clip, we will have a poll where you can put your answers. Okay? So Gorka, if you'd like to share the clip, please.
I'm Kate Ballantyne and this is my sister Sky. We're here today to ask for £25,000 in return for 10% of our company, Crikey Bikey Limited. Our company has two directors, my mum, Ali Ballantyne, and a family friend, Jeremy Wilson. Sky and I both hold 50% of the shares. We started our company because we really believe that our harness can help teach children how to ride their bikes much quicker.
When I heard that my holiday homework was to invent something for a school technology competition, I thought, wow, I'm really going to go for this. I was wondering what to do when I noticed a man teaching his son to ride a bike in the park. The man was struggling because he was bent over holding the back of the seat and the handlebars, and he was getting a bad back.
Sky created the Crikey Bikey harness, a harness with a handle on the back, which allows the adult to run with a straight back. If the child wobbles, they can feel the safety of the harness around them.
We have registered the Crikey Bikey trademarks. We know that our product is unique because we have applied for a UK patent and we have asked for it to be accelerated.
We'd now like to invite on our directors to help us answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So, what do you think? Do you think that the dragons should invest or not in the product? Would you like to vote? If you could share the poll, please, Lorca.
Okay, so the poll is up there now. Should the dragons invest in the product? Yes or no? And it seems a majority are saying around 90%.
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
87.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Wow, gosh, that is a resounding yes. I'd be interested to know why you think they should invest in the product. Could you just put a few ideas in the chat, please?
Okay. Somebody says those kids are better at life than I am. Safety, for safety reasons. Somebody says no, that is not useful. I mean, there are different ideas because it is so innovative. It's cheap.
Oh, very interesting, great ideas. Now, in class, what we would then do would be watch more of the video and see what the decision was. But we're not going to do that because it was a 10-minute clip and we want to use the time for other things. But I'll tell you, interestingly, they decided not to invest in the product, despite the fact that I agree with you. I thought those girls were wonderful how they sold their product. But I think one of the main concerns they said was that actually you're talking about a very short period of time when somebody would need to use the harness to help the children. They say children learn to ride bikes very quickly, and so they weren't convinced. Having said that, one of the judges, in fact, has his own web page all connected to the bicycle business, and he said that he would market the product for them, give them free advertising, but they didn't actually invest the money in the product. But an interesting one. Now, obviously, you can use this as a model with your students, and then they do the same. They think about a new invention. Now, my students were coming up with all sorts of things and quite often related to the current situation with the COVID crisis. There were some very nice ideas. You can look at language of persuasion, language to sell their invention, etc., using perhaps some of the language from the transcript from the video, or feeding in your own expressions like, you know, we really feel you should invest in our product because there's nothing like it on the market. It will be worth every penny, etc. Those kinds of phrases. So you're helping to upgrade the students' language. They practice it, they do a presentation, and then you, if you want, can be the dragon and you can decide which product that you want to invest in out of those which are presented to you. Okay, I think it's nice to use video. You can use the Zoom classroom, you can watch the video, you can put the students in the breakout rooms to work together, you can get them to rehearse, you can maybe put breakout room members together so that they present to a smaller group, or if you have confident students or it's not a very big class, they can all come back to the main room and they can do the presentation actually in the main room to all of their colleagues. So there are different kinds of interaction patterns possible, both online and also in the classroom. Okay.
And there's a nice idea just to mention from Angela in the chat that you could nominate a panel of judges.
That's nice, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a nice idea, because I think also you can also then look at language to give opinion and to justify choices as well. Like, we have chosen because, which again is a kind of language that students might need to use in oral exams when they're making choices. Which of these would they, for example, comparing the photos and deciding which of the two events they can see in the photo they would would most like to go to and why. So you can use other kinds of phrases there as well. So that's a very nice idea. Thank you. Okay, let's continue and let's have a look at another area that we can consider: personal achievements. I'd like you to think of something that you have achieved recently. It can be anything at all, from learning something new to completing an outstanding task, finally washing all those plates in the sink, or to meeting a personal goal. If you feel happy enough to do so, maybe you can just think for a moment or two, and if anybody is prepared to share an achievement in the chat, that would be lovely.
Nice one from Gracia. I cleared my table today. Ride a bike again after several years without doing so.
Fantastic.
Yeah. A 1,000-piece puzzle.
Oh, wow.
Nothing less. Nothing less.
Yes.
Claro. Obvious one. Adapting to online and then hybrid teaching. That's been a major achievement.
Definitely. It's been such a learning curve for us all, hasn't it? And I think we should all feel proud at the way that we are adapting to the new context in which we're working, whether it's online, hybrid, or even the new kind of in-classroom situation, definitely. Great.
And I like this, just one last one, because this is very nice. Somebody has perfected their bechamel recipe.
That's how, come round to my house, please, and bring it around. That sounds lovely. Okay, fantastic.
Okay, thanks.
So we're going to watch another video. Now, this one comes from the Macmillan Hub B1 Plus series, and it's the story of Julia. And what has she achieved and what inspired her? Just think about those two questions as you're watching the video about Julia and her story. Thank you, Gorka.
A lot of people do sports to deal with stress or to solve certain problems. It's relaxing, and we feel better afterwards. But some sports are more extreme than others. These people are doing wild swimming. They're not doing it near some tropical island in the Caribbean, though, but in the UK in winter.
I'm Julia, and I'm 66 years old. When my children were grown, my daughter went off to do her master's degree in Plymouth, and a couple months later I felt pretty lonely and went to visit for Christmas, and have been here ever since. The first winter I was here, I spent hibernating and I was cold, and I put on 20 kilos. I was quite unhappy about that. I've always loved the sea. My mother would take me to the sea to watch the hurricanes come in. Then I saw the Port Cardinal Beach, and there were people swimming. And I said, it's late October, there are people swimming, I can do it. So I went down and very quickly got in the water with them. The first time I stayed like 30 seconds and loved it.
Julia used to be a workaholic. She didn't have time for herself or physical exercise. Now that she's retired, she has time for the things that she likes. She feels that being active and gradually doing exercise can change you. She loves the experience of wild swimming.
I was totally out of shape when I got here. And if you start moving about, walking, maybe in the beginning, doing exercise, they can change totally. Oh, you go back to being a child. It's freedom, it's joy, it's pleasure, it's a birthday party, it's fun. It gets you away from problems, issues, thoughts. You can't think about anything at that moment. You can enjoy nature, you can enjoy the people around you, the water, and you're just one with it. It's amazing.
It is fresh.
Feels like you're alive. It's amazing. Euphoria.
It is lovely to meet this community every day. It's a great feeling. We support each other, we encourage each other to meet for swimming. There are some days when you think, no, I won't go. But then you think, the others are going to be out there waiting for me, I've got to go. Someone the other day asked me, what would your dream life be? I said, I'm living it. I feel very lucky.
Thank you. So my question for you to think about was, what has she achieved and what inspired her? And I want you to think about the students. Why might this story inspire students? Maybe think about Julia, her age, etc. Think about question A. What might they be able to compare this with? Any ideas? Again, if you want to write any ideas in the chat, that would be lovely.
Laia Bennett has pointed out the word commitment, the idea of commitment. You know, she says at the end that if she doesn't go, some days she might wake up and she doesn't feel like it, but then she says, well, if I don't go, people depend on me or expect me to go. And, you know, it's a sense of, you know, commitment that she has as well to others. Motivating, living, you are never too old to start doing something new.
Right, okay, lovely, thank you. And that was kind of the comparison that I wanted to make, because I think that many of our adult students, giving this as a model, obviously it's a different kind of thing, but the whole point about learning a language and learning English, sometimes we need to show them that they're never too old to begin. In fact, when I work on the CELTA courses in Seville, we have an A2 level group, and they are mainly more mature, retired ladies and gents. And it's fantastic because they are motivated, they enjoy it, and they've lost that fear. I would also apply it to the online setting as well. I think some of our adult students, when they realize that they're going to be learning online and maybe they don't feel that they're particularly expert in the use of technology, might be put off. And we can show them that we can quickly help them to use the online context, to use the tools, and they can continue with their language learning. So although we're looking at Julia swimming in a very cold Cornish sea, I think it's a nice comparison that we can make to show our students that you're never too old to begin anything. And the friendships that she's made, they can also do that in class as well, whether it's physically or online. Okay. And my second question is, how else could you exploit the video further in class? Maybe think about listening skills work or speaking skills work. Okay, I've said write your ideas in the chat. Some of you might be familiar as well with the fact that, for example, on Zoom, you can share a whiteboard and get students to write on the whiteboard, or you can use Jamboard, which is an interactive whiteboard as well. But for today, we're going to use the chat. So how could you exploit the video further in class? Any other ideas, please?
Yes, Lucille is saying we might ask students, how do you picture your life when you're at her age? What challenge do you want to take on before you turn her age? Another person is saying the difficulty nowadays to live the life we dream. Yeah.
Yes.
Mercedes says there's a lot of community there. Yes. Being part of a group.
Yes.
Maybe also sharing personal stories. For example, they could have grandparents or, you know, older family members who
Yes.
have done something similar and share that.
Really nice. Yes. I
Create a
agree.
sense of community and being part
Yes.
of a group. And they can share their own life experiences, own challenges. Fantastic,
Really nice
thank
ideas.
you.
Thank you, yes, some very nice ideas. And sort of if we think about, for example, the idea of imagine you when you are retired, etc., you could use it to introduce and practice a tense like the future perfect, about the things that you will have done. I will have learned how to swim in a cold sea. So for example, some of these ideas very nicely lend themselves to the use of certain tenses if we want to exploit this as a context for grammar, but then also some really nice ideas for discussion as well, practicing oral fluency. And I'm sure that there's probably some very nice collocations that you could look at, which are connected to her experience. I mean, the thing is with, I think with video, it tends to engage people. It makes the whole context more memorable, and then you can really exploit it, whether it's for language, for grammar or vocabulary, or also for speaking skills work after the initial listening skills work.
And there's also a really nice idea from somebody about creating their own video of something
wonderful.
they have achieved and how it made them feel. So you've got the model here, and
Yes.
you work on the language, you work on the content, and then they go and create their own video. I think it would give a great sense of achievement.
Wonderful. That's a really nice idea. And I think, you know, could work particularly well, it could work well with any age group, but I think maybe older teens would really respond to that too. Can depend, of course, on the individual and the personality, but that could work really nicely. Talking of which, now, I wasn't sure whether or not to share this photo with you, but I'm going to. This is a personal achievement of mine.
Yes.
Okay. So the photo on the left, I had just got out of the swimming pool, talking of swimming, and the photo on the right. So this is something which, again, I am prepared to share with my students, even though it's obviously quite a personal thing. And this was about a decision that I made, quite similar to Julia. She said she put on 20 kilos, etc. Well, I managed to put on nearly 30. And in the picture on the left and the picture on the right, there's under a year. And in these two pictures, I've managed to lose 25 of those 30 kilos through hard work, mainly lots of walking, starting running, and some diet and going to the gym, etc. So
lots of congratulations in the chat box there, by the way.
Thank you very much. And I've managed to lose those other 5 now. Now it's trying to maintain it, which is another challenge. But again, it's made me feel so much better, much healthier, especially with the times we're living at the moment. It gives me more confidence. And I sometimes use this as a model for students, again, to do what some of you were just suggesting about them sharing their own stories, etc. Okay, so even though I still feel a bit like, oh, when I see the picture on the left, that was my own personal achievement. Okay, we've got time for one more activity, Louise?
Yes.
Okay, so thinking about your students being online, they're often at home, possibly at work. I heard Sky talking about a scavenger hunt. I think that's a very nice idea, especially with the younger learners, etc. One thing that I like to do is ask students to find something at home that is special for them. As you can see, the title of this particular task is treasured possession. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this, but the great thing is that they're often at home and they can literally go and find it and bring it back. Now, this is my treasured possession. It's back to photos of me again, honestly. But have a quick look at this. What do you think this is? Where do you think this photo is taken from? What's it a photo of? Any ideas? Just very quickly in the chat. I think it's Yes.
So somebody is asking, I'm going to interrupt, is there a Welsh twang in your accent?
Well, originally I'm from Cheltenham in Gloucestershire, which is next to Wales. So,
so there is something.
There's always a bit of rivalry there between Gloucestershire and Wales. But my family are originally from Bristol, and I used to have a much stronger accent. But people still pick up on it. Which I'm glad about. I'm proud of my slightly West Country accent.
Fantastic. Martin is saying passport. Somebody's saying from university, or was it maybe at university, before university? It's an ID card. It's an old passport. Somebody is saying it's from the 80s. It could be a student card. You remember those from university?
Yeah. I'm laughing because I know why they said from the 80s, because they spotted the hair. Okay.
Yeah.
Well done. You're right. So the treasured possession which I talk about is my very first passport. Yeah, my first 10-year passport. And I don't know if you can see.
It's your first one.
Yes, this was my first, I think they used to do 1-year passports when I went on a school trip once, but this was my very first 10-year passport.
Wow, and you still have it?
Yes, I do still keep it because it's special to me. As you can see, it started in 1991, hence the slight 80s haircut, until 2001. And so I will then go on to students to explain that this is a treasured possession for me because I got it when I finished university, and with 3 friends, 2 of whom I had a Zoom call with the other day, we went on an interrail trip around Europe when you buy those tickets and you can travel all over Europe on the trains. And it was an amazing experience, so exciting. We just finished being students. We had very little money, so we were on a real budget. And we travelled around Europe, and the biggest surprise, and we're talking about 1991, is we went to the Czech Republic, to Prague. And it was like, oh, amazing. We'd never really heard that much about Prague. It had only recently opened up more to visitors with the Iron Curtain coming down, etc. And travelled all around the world. All around Europe. And the reason why this is special to me is it made me realise that it was quite possible to travel in Europe and to be overseas. And it's what inspired me to start looking for work abroad and to start teaching. And I actually went to Japan. That was my first job for 2 years, from 1992 to 1994. Probably some of you weren't even born. And,
I went to Japan as well. I taught in Japan for a year, but it was in 1995, 96.
Oh, we just missed each other then. And then I came after that to Cordoba and have been here in Spain since then. So this would be my treasured possession. Again, it can be more like a task-based approach whereby you're using your story as a model. You can then focus on some very nice phrases such as, it means the world to me because, it reminds me of, I keep it in a drawer next to my bed. I've had it for, oh goodness, 1991. Anyone want to do any maths? What's that, 30 years, etc. And then they can practice in pairs. They can be in breakout rooms. Then they can present in the main room. Or what you can do is you can have one student doing a presentation each class. It doesn't necessarily have to be all of the students. You can set this task because they know they can find something at home. Particularly if you're not online, you can actually get them to bring it into the class as well, providing it's something that they can carry, etc. So that's an activity which I always find that the students respond very nicely to, whether they are adults or older teens, etc. And I think it can be, again, a nice way to personalize language and to make it more memorable and to learn more about each other and to build rapport. And hopefully all of that helps with motivation. Okay, so I think we're coming to the end of our time, aren't we? So
yes,
if anybody has any comments or questions, then please put them into the chats.
Okay, so any comments, questions? We'll give you a few seconds just to remind you that the event has been recorded. We will send you the recording and handouts for both Sky's and Claire's sessions, as well as the certificate of attendance early next week. People are writing in, Claire, thank you very much. That's been great, great ideas.
Thank you.
I agree. Somebody says, I agree, personalization makes such a difference to how our classes work. Absolutely. And us modeling is key in the classroom. Yeah. Such useful ideas. Thank you, Claire.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, it's been wonderful. It's been great. Both the ideas and the explanation and the context. It's been wonderful that you've been able to share your experience, Claire, with everybody, with all of us. You have such as you know, really many years of experience in different contexts. Yeah, well, like me, I'm not saying you're old, but no, I mean, I think I do think that no, but it's a lovely opportunity to share this and for people to see people sharing in the chat box so much. I think it's very important, you know.
Exactly. Thank you so much to everybody for participating. Thank you.
Thank you so much to everybody for participating. So thank you so much, Claire. It's been a real pleasure. I'm so glad that we've been able to spend this time together and to share these ideas, and also huge thanks to Sky for his great practical session as well. And thanks to everybody out there for participating so much and for sharing your ideas with all of us. And I hope to see you all again sometime not too far in the future, soon again. And I wish you all the very good rest of the week and also the best possible finish to the course this year. I know it's been really hard for everybody. Well done to you all for continuing, for the wonderful job that you are doing. And let's hope that next year, 2022, is a better one for everyone. So thank you very much and see you all soon. Bye.